Sheriff Nina Travers had lived her entire life in the town of Grayfield, Wyoming. Population 2,104, not counting the stray dogs or the ghosts folks whispered about when the fog rolled in from the hills. She had walked these streets since childhood, inherited her badge from her father, and knew every face between the river and the edge of Highway 6. Grayfield wasn't the kind of place where strange things happened. People aged in their parents' homes, gossiped through screen doors, and called bingo the most exciting event of the month. But on a damp Tuesday morning in early October, Nina woke up in the driver's seat of her cruiser with her boots still laced, her service weapon holstered, the keys in the ignition, and no memory of the day before. She didn't panic. She didn't call for backup. She simply turned off the engine, stepped out onto the misty street, and got to work. Her first stop was May's Diner. The bell above the door gave a tired jingle as she stepped inside. The smell of burnt coffee and fried eggs hit her nose, familiar and grounding. Darla, the ever-sunny waitress in her late 50s, offered the same strained smile she always did. "Morning, Sheriff. You look like you didn't sleep a wink," she said, pouring a cup without asking. "Something like that," Nina replied, accepting the coffee. "You have a busy day yesterday?" Darla hesitated. "Just a flicker. Same as always, lunch rush, poker night at Stokes' place." Nina stirred her coffee slowly. "What was the lunch special? Meatloaf?" That stopped Nina. "You haven't served meatloaf on a Monday in 3 years." "Well, we switched it up," Darla said too quickly. Nina didn't press. Not yet. But the unease in her gut churned. People in Grayfield weren't good liars. They usually had no reason to be. But today everyone was acting from a script. At the station, she checked the logbook. Clean. Empty columns from 10:42 a.m. onward. No calls, no arrests, no reports. She pulled up the street cams. All 24 feeds cut out at exactly the same second on Monday morning and resumed exactly 1 minute later, as if nothing had happened. People picked up where they left off. Mailboxes opened, shop doors swung wide, but their movements were off. Too smooth, too orchestrated. Her own dash cam had the same gap. 1 second she was heading toward the train yard, the next she was parked at Town Hall. The date stamp didn't lie. 24 hours had vanished. The old instincts, the ones honed over years chasing drunks and calming domestic fights, told her this wasn't an accident. Someone or something had removed Monday from their lives, and everyone was pretending otherwise. Her next stop was the Ridge House. Mason Ridge, a teenage recluse, lived in a basement stacked with dusty electronics and old police scanners. Nina knocked. Mason opened the door in his pajamas, dark circles under his eyes. "I was wondering when you'd show up," he muttered. "I saved the broadcast." He led her down into a room filled with blinking lights and humming monitors. On one of them, he queued up a scratchy, distorted audio clip. A mechanical voice said, "Subject interference confirmed. Reset sequence initiated. Erase local iteration. Prepare anchor." Then static. And behind it, whispers. Nina strained to hear. One whisper was clearer than the others. She asked too many questions. "When did this air?" she asked. "Monday night, right before the station blacked out. I tried to broadcast again, but something fried my transmitter." Back at her office, Nina searched her desk until she found it. An envelope she didn't remember putting there. Marked in red, contingency, level red. Inside, a single sheet, typed. "If you are reading this, the reset failed. You must act immediately. Do not trust the townspeople. Destroy the signal source." Attached was a photo of the water tower, the base circled in thick red marker. She left without a word. The sun was setting behind the hills when she arrived. The tower stood tall, framed by skeletal trees. The fence surrounding it looked recently built, too pristine, too official. She cut through it and climbed. At the top, where rust should have been, she found a sleek black panel. It shimmered like oil. As her fingers brushed it, a shock ran through her, not pain but memory. She saw lights in the sky. People gathered in fields, eyes glazed, mouthing silent words. She saw herself, bound, studied, probed. She had fought back. She had found this tower before. She had tried to destroy it. And then Monday was gone. A voice entered her mind. You weren't supposed to remember. She stumbled down the ladder, breath ragged. She needed fire. She needed finality. At the hardware store, she broke the lock and took thermite, timers, fuel. She worked quickly, wiring the tower's base. When the lights approached, she didn't stop. They came walking out of the trees, dozens of people, her neighbors, her friends, but they moved like puppets. Their eyes shimmered with a wrong light. You don't have to run, Sheriff, they said in unison. You just have to forget. Not this time, she whispered and lit the fuse. The explosion lit the sky white. The tower screamed as it fell, and the signal, whatever it was, died in a flash of heat and silence. She woke the next morning in her cruiser. The sky was clear, the birds had returned, but Grayfield was empty. Doors ajar. Cars still in driveways. No people. She walked the town slowly, every nerve on edge, and then she saw it. Chalk writing scrawled on every wall, every sign, every step she took. See you next Monday, Nina. And somehow, she knew they meant it. Nina wandered down Main Street, every creak of her boots echoing against the shop fronts like thunder. The world had gone silent, as if the town were waiting, watching. Store displays were frozen in time. A mannequin mid-stride in the clothing store. A dusty pie on the windowsill of May's untouched. No flies, no rot, just stillness. She entered the diner. The coffee pot was half full. A cup, half drunk, rested at one of the booths, steam long gone. A fork balanced on a plate as though someone had set it down just before standing up and walking away. She called out. No answer. She walked to the back past the swinging kitchen doors. The grill was cold. A trail of muddy footprints led out the back door into the woods. She followed them. The path took her behind the buildings, through the overgrown grass and into the grove beyond the fire station. Every few steps, more footprints appeared. Small, large boots, bare feet. Like dozens had walked this path, slowly, deliberately, all heading the same direction. They led her to the clearing near Devil's Hollow, an old dried-out creek bed that the kids used to dare each other to explore. At its center was a circle of white ash, perfectly round, 10 feet across. At the center of that, a single chair, a rocking chair, familiar. It was the chair from her father's porch. The same one he died in 10 years ago, stroke taking him mid-story. She hadn't seen it in a decade. She stepped forward. The chair rocked gently, though there was no wind. She crouched beside it, resting her hand on the worn armrest. It was warm. Then behind her a voice. You did well. She turned. The figure standing at the edge of the clearing was shaped like a man, but the face, it was a shifting mosaic, always changing. Her father, then Mason, then herself. What are you? She asked. We are the ones who remain, it said. You remember because you were not fully replaced. You resisted. Replaced? This town is a vessel. You are one of the last. Your memory holds the lock. Nina's head swam. What happens next? The figure smiled. a too-wide, broken thing. They will come again, they always do, but you have cracked the seal. Some of us may wake. She reached for her sidearm. And if I stop you here, then we wait. For the next Monday. For the next sheriff. She fired. The bullet passed through the figure like smoke. It laughed and vanished. She stumbled back to her cruiser as the sun set once more. The sky turned crimson, then violet. In her rearview mirror, the chair rocked on its own. She drove to the station, barricaded the doors, found an old typewriter and began to write everything down. Names, faces, patterns, messages in the noise. If they came again, she would be ready. She didn't sleep that night, just watched the sky, waiting for movement. Her fingers hovered over the old CB radio mic. Her voice hoarse, she whispered into the silence. "This is Sheriff Nina Travers. If you can hear this, you need to remember. Don't trust the ones who smile too long. Don't drink the water. And whatever happens," she paused, eyes narrowing at the static that filled the speaker. "Whatever happens, stay awake." The next morning, Grayfield remained a ghost town. Not empty. No, that would be easier. Instead, it was staged, scripted. Every storefront dressed just right. Every window reflecting nothing. The air smelled faintly of burnt paper and ozone. Nina wandered through the courthouse, her boots loud on the polished floors. The judge's bench was empty. The flag was still. Papers were arranged on desks, but none of them bore text, just blank pages. Her own face stared back at her from a portrait that hadn't existed before. She tore it from the wall. Behind it, carved into the wood, were words. Cycle 43. Observer incomplete. She touched the lettering. It burned her skin. Later, she broke into the elementary school. Classrooms stood untouched, as though a fire drill had emptied them seconds ago. Children's coats hung from hooks. A paper chain stretched along the chalkboard, decorated with dates, all Mondays. In the principal's office, she found the same chair as in the woods. It faced the wall, unmoving. She didn't touch it this time. Instead, she returned to the tower's ruins. Ash and slag. But in the center, unharmed, stood the obsidian plate, still humming, still waiting. Nina knelt beside it, closed her eyes, and remembered. The experiments, the interrogations, the ones who copied her voice. The days repeated, the days erased, how she'd fought, how she'd failed, how she'd planned again and again. But she always forgot, just like they wanted, until now. She stood, took out her badge, pressed it into the plate. "I am the witness," she said. "I am the lock." The plate dimmed, and then from every corner of the town came a sound, low, vibrating, like the groan of metal on stone, the sound of something waking up or breaking down. The sky fractured again. Stars fell. Light bled through the seams of the world. Nina returned to the station one final time. Her last log entry was written by hand in ink, a message for whoever came next. They came on a Monday. They will come again. But now we remember. If you read this, you must finish what I started. Find the chair, burn the seal, never sleep on Sunday night. She signed it, placed it beneath her badge on the desk, and walked outside. At the horizon, the fog thickened. Shapes moved within it. She drew her weapon, took one step forward, and smiled.